Hello, my name is Pew Pew Choo Choo, and today we'll be taking a look at the second battle inside this AAR, the advance on Kiev. The advance on Kiev was almost like the German Blitzkrieg in a sense that the German lines inside the scenario was very loosely held. There's a broad front with many units deployed linearly up and down the map. However, there wasn't a lot of depth behind this defensive line. I plan to use our concentrated tank divisions to make a breakthrough close to the railroad crossings. You see that the German troops are pulling back towards the bridgeheads and maintaining a choke point there. My goal will be hopefully to maneuver from the bottom of the map straight across all of these railroad junctions and into the rear of the enemy where their infantry divisions cannot support them. While technically the railroad on this scenario doesn't actually give a adjacency bonus of any sort for your supply lines, there is a remarkably big gap inside the middle of the German lines that we can hopefully exploit. It seems rather odd that the railroad supply line doesn't actually come up through here. It would seem that the railroad that actually carries supply goes outside of the map's boundaries into Kharkov and comes back up. In the north, our enemies have retreated back into their own forests, and I intend to follow them with my infantry. The only objective that the northern troops have is simply to maintain contact with the enemy. If we utilize the zone of control function inside the game, we'll be able to slow down the enemy's movements up near the top of the map. In the meantime, inside the center of the map, I simply want my tanks to advance as quickly as possible towards the objectives. With the beginning of another turn, we will resume offensive operations inside the central area of the map. Because we can simply render the German forces inoperable by weakening their units, we can pursue a very fast-paced advance without necessarily mopping up the enemy troops. It seems very odd that the German AI actually let one objective be essentially unprotected. The one close to the Dnieper River is actually out in the open. In the northern sector, it looks like we're having a few supply issues, but that should be alright. Now that the German troops are actually moving forward inside the northern part of the map, this will be very good news for us, seeing as how that will tie down the bulk of the infantry divisions there. Currently, it seems like we'll be making good footwork on completing our objectives. Everything should be accomplished right on time at the deadlines provided by the scenario. An important concept to notice here is the concept of frontalage. We have a lot of tank divisions, however, the question of how to best implement them is up for debate. There's simply not enough frontage to actively implement all of these vehicles at the same time, so we have to essentially split our forces into two groups and take both of these objectives simultaneously. In theory, the unity of command system does allow the player to actually swap pieces to and from each other, which is rather nice. I didn't necessarily expect the German AI to be getting any reinforcements, but since that they're here, we'll need to send some of our infantry from the top of the map down so that we can garrison the objectives. The weather, also known as the rain at the top of the map, will keep the forces up there immobile for the time being. But with bad weather, we also had to take note of the inability for our supplies to reach that area. Inside the south near Kiev, I would imagine that one single tank battalion or division should be able to hold off all of the German infantry, especially when they disband that panzer division. One thing that we had to note about the German forces is that their infantry divisions, their tanks, and their support steps are infinitely more valuable than the Russian counterparts. Because the Panzer division inside the objective has reinforced itself with some Stugs, the actual assault onto the tile will be much more difficult now. Because of this, I've decided to deploy more tanks into the area so that we can have a better chance at taking them out. However, supply problems strike us once again, seeing as how our tanks inside the forests cannot be resupplied. I shift my forces around a little bit and make an assault onto the tile. Seeing as how we only have to capture all of our objectives, there is no real threat inside the south. While our tank division there is surrounded, there is a very, very small chance that the infantry will attack it. And on the final turn, we begin our assault and beat the German Panzer division. This will be the second battle out of 3 out of the Unity of Command Red Turn AAR. I hope you liked the show and be sure to subscribe.